Good afternoon and welcome to our chemistry lesson today. This is Sir Alex Ambassador, your chemistry teacher for today and most probably for the whole of this holiday. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for joining in. I always say you start by telling me how you can hear me, if you can hear me very well, or it's good to tell me that you can hear me or not so that we can proceed. Those who are already in class, I'm glad and I'm happy to invite you once again so that you can join me in this particular noble task. You are on that side listening and receiving information from me. I'm here and very happy to deliver information to you. Can you hear me? I believe so. So today's topic, we are going to learn on three main things which are or is the core of chemistry. If you don't know what I want to teach today, then you will have a very big problem handling other topics. And this is the issue of chemical symbol, chemical formula, and chemical equations. Why am I saying so? I'm saying so because for you to study any other topic in Form 2, in Form 3, and in Form 4, you must be writing chemical formulas, chemical equations, which if you have a problem with it, then you have things. But let's start at the basics. Our chemical back in those days, like 40 years ago, told us that if you work on this, then you will have no problem ahead of the other topics. And that's what I want to use today. If we work on proper chemical symbols, formulas, and equations, you are sure of what you are writing. You are sure of how to balance it. I assure you, you will never have a problem in the topic of salts. You will never have a problem in any topic that requires you to write chemical equations. I had requested that if you can hear me, if I'm audible, if just say yes somewhere there, then you give me the confidence to proceed. Are you together? Chemical symbols are learned in Form 1. Topic in Form 1, chemical symbols. You are given the most basic symbols of elements, that is just the first 20 elements. Important that we check through it. Then chemical in Form 2. If I ask you to give me the formula of an element, that one will be called chemical symbol. But if it is for a compound like sodium carbonate, that one is said to be chemical formula. Then from there, if it's an equation, this and this reacts to give this, then that one we call it chemical equation. Are you together? Can we proceed? Yes. So, Nasra, you've confirmed that you are there with us. Thank you. Margaret and Jerry, thank you for following with us. And this topic is practical. It is practical, meaning as I'm doing what I'm doing here, as I'm discussing what I'm discussing, you should be there with a pen and a paper to be writing what I'm saying. Uko na kalamu? Na karatasi? Yes or no? The answer is it should be yes. If you don't have, just call someone to bring you a piece of paper and or your notebook, because we have to write them down. Sawa sawa. So I want to acknowledge the following. McLean Zerovi in class. I want to acknowledge Kipepeo Safe Space in class. Juliet, Mercy, and Nasra and Margaret, those who are the ones who have talked back to me from the chat section. And I'm happy because, when I'm teaching and I know the following are in class, then it makes me proceed very well. So let's start by looking at the chemical symbols. Chemical symbols. Instead of writing the whole name of an element like carbon, you simply write the symbol, which letter or letters represent carbon. And let me tell you, for all the 160 elements, there are no two that share a symbol. Kila mtu na symbol yake. They are very different. Every element has their own symbol. There are three categories in which we assign symbols. There are three categories in which we assign these letters that stands in for a certain element. I'm going to give you the first category. The first category is the category whereby we simply pick the first letter of the name. For example, element like carbon, we simply pick C. Are you together? Element like oxygen, we simply pick O. Element like nitrogen, we simply pick N. Are you together? Kuna mtu nilimuuliza symbol for nitrogen akaniandika N2. N2 is not symbol for nitrogen. That one is a symbol for nitrogen molecule. Likewise to O2. But symbol for oxygen is O, for nitrogen is N. Then we have hydrogen. Hydrogen. So these ones are the examples of elements whereby we simply pick the first letter of the name. It becomes the chemical symbol. That is the first category. I want us to get to the second category. I know these things, you know them, but we are just doing it for so that when we get to chemical formulas, you are aware of what we are talking about. Those new members who are getting to class, please make sure you talk to us, make sure you greet us there. We are happy. We are waiting for your greeting so that we can respond to you. I hope you can see my board. I hope you can see what I'm writing on the board. Yes, the second category is the category whereby we pick the first letter and any other letter, which can be the first and the second, or the first and the third, or simply the first and any other letter of the name. For example, calcium. We pick C and A. Are you together? Yeah, Pili, we have cobalt. Cobalt, I may have not mentioned it yesterday among the first 20 because it's not there. Cobalt, we write capital C, small o. Cobalt. Then we have chlorine. Chlorine is capital C, small l. I don't know who taught you how to write the issue of letters, capital and small, but I'm a guy to know equal small, yes. Then we have magnesium. The symbol for magnesium is capital M, small g. So you see, I've just picked M and G, C and L, C and O, C and A. The last example is manganese. Most people, students who are infant in chemistry, confuses magnesium and manganese in terms of symbols. Unajua Mg, hii ingine hatuchukui tena Mg, tunachukua capital M, small n. That is manganese. That is manganese. Are you together? That's our second way of assigning chemical symbols. I'm just giving you examples so that you can also know how these things goes by. Are we together, everyone? Can we get to the next part now, the third part on assigning chemical symbols? Hapo kidogo mpaka niwangoje mnirespondie, pengine watu wameweka simu Iran alafu wakaenda kukulala. Can we proceed now? Can we get to the third way of assigning chemical symbols? Nataka kuona kina Nasra wakiniambia yes, so that we can proceed. Nice, nice. So, the third category on how we can assign chemical symbols is very simple again. We use Latin language. We use Latin language. Why do we use Latin? Nobody may question this, but it's good to know. Most of the science in those ancient days started and were being taught in Latin before English became the famous language. Nowadays, English is being spoken by majority of the people in the world, followed by, is it French? I put tafuta ujue ni kandio number 2, ama ni German, but I think it's French. So we have the Latin name. And this Latin name was being used in those days. So it was considered. I'm going to give you elements because I know you are wondering how potassium, inaandikwa hivi potassium, lakini unaambiwa symbol yake ni K. This K was derived from its Latin name kalium. Standika hizo. It's not necessary anywhere. Ukishashika hii, nobody will ask you ilitoka wapi. Wewe unajua tu K ni potassium. Then we have sodium. Sodium, it was derived from what we call natrium. Natrium is the name, Latin name for sodium, so it's called natrium. But now the symbol is A. I hope we are okay after that point. Silver. Don't confuse silver and another element there which I'm going to give you. Silver is Ag. Why? What's the Latin name? It is addendum. That's why we picked A, capital A, and small a. So we have gold. If you participate in Olympics, you can run and be position 1. You can get a gold. Gold is called aurum. A-U-R-U-M. Aurum. So we are only picking A-U. Aurum inaandikwa hivi. Aurum. Kuna mwanafunzi remember, if AU is the symbol for cold and aurum is the name for cold, so I can also, if this U was picked, because we know EA ndio hii. Sasa akauza EU ni amani. Kumwambia hiyo pangi apeleke mbali sana. Now, after gold, I just want to add you more. We have what we call iron. You know iron, those who are doing chemistry, ferrous. So it is Fe. Capital F, small e. Then lead. We all know lead. Lead is called plumbum. Lead. Hapo sasa ndio watu wengine wanashindwa. B and P. Ama P and B. That is capital P, small b. That is the symbol for lead. The Latin name for lead is plumbum. So we pick the P and B. Then we have, not last 3 seconds, last we have mercury. Mercury. Mercury is capital H, small g. Wale mnasomanga ya physics mnajuanga millimeters of mercury. It comes from the word hydragiram. Hg. Lastly, copper. Copper, we have copper here. Copper is Cu. Cuprum. Cu. And very many others. You know, we just give you the basics. After we have given you the basics, you go and learn more. And more. Just make it a van of learning chemical symbols. Don't make it iko kitu ngumu. So I'm done with the first part, chemical symbols. Kama uko na swali, ask. If you have a question on that part, you can ask before we get to the second part. So somebody is saying, I can't see well of manganese. Manganese is capital M, so capital M, small n, Mn. That is for manganese. Are we together, Juliet? Yes. Yeah, so let's get to the second part and then we go to the third part. The second part involves writing of chemical formulas. It involves writing of chemical formulas. That is simply the symbol for compounds. Yes. Now, I would like us to start with the simple ones. We proceed to the most complicated ones because we have the simple ones. I don't want to lie to you that all of them are the same, but you have to realize that, for example, look at this. Sodium oxide, but sasa kuna ingine inaitwa ammonium sulfate. Inaandikwa hivi, ammonium sulfate. Hapa iko na 2. So you see, in these ones, this one is the most basic. Yeah, so we are starting from the most basic to the ones that we can say they are somehow complicated. That it's not complicated, but somehow compared to. Yes, and it's one of the most interesting areas. Now, what determines how chemical formulas are written? Two things. One, the chemical symbol of each element. You know, class vizuri. You must know how to write proper chemical symbols. For example, mtu akiandika hapa hivi NaO. Huyu mtu ako na idea lakini hajui. Ukiniandikia hivi, I will chase you away from Kenya. This one don't. So that's why I started by asking you about or teaching you about chemical symbols. Julia, umenielewa venye nimesema? Now, the second thing apart from chemical symbols, the second thing that you need to know is what you call valency. Valency is the combining power of an element. Valency. Ukishajua what each element has as the valency, then you are ready to go. Hiyo nayo uko sawa kabisa. Valency. Then, this combining power called valency are being exchanged by the elements forming up the compound. For example, taka tuandike like 6 of them, between 6 to 10. Trust me, inafaa ukwe umeelewa. Kitambo tufike number 10, my friend, my friends, my sister, my brother, my son, my daughter, you must have understood. Taka tufanye 10 of them. Wewe kitambo fike number 4, make sure umeshika venye kunaenda. Somebody is asking what is the chemical formula for iron pentacarbonyl. Wewe mbona unaenda vitu za campus first year, ndawaandikia at the end of the lesson kipepeo safe space. Hiyo kwamba umeuliza iko juu yako sana pale because umeulizia ndafanya aje ndakuandikia. Now, look at this. Ndaka tuanze number 1, sodium oxide. So lazima ujiulize sodium iko na valence ya ngapi? 1. It has a valence of 1. Also ask yourself, oxygen iko na valence ya ngapi? 2. These are meant to exchange their valences. E2 iende hivi, O ikuje hivi. I mean, 1 iende huko. So it's going to be Na2, then O1. But for a scientist like you, you must know that kama ni 1, you don't have to write 1. Why? Even if you write 1, you are still correct, but why write? Something that when it is there or when it's not there, it doesn't matter. Why write? That is sodium oxide. Now look at this, number 2. Calcium oxide. So you have calcium, then you have oxygen. So the first thing that you need to ask yourself is, what is the chemical symbol for calcium? Okay, which is Ca, then O. Then what is the valence for calcium? 2. What's the valence for oxygen? 2. So what is the formula? Ca2O2. But again, ladies and gentlemen, if these two numbers are the same or they can cancel each other, then let them cancel each other. So we are going to have calcium oxide. Are you seeing now? Yes. Now, look at this. Carbon 4 oxide. Kuna carbon 4 oxide na kuna carbon 2 oxide. Now, if I say carbon 4 oxide, so we have carbon, then we have oxygen. Oxygen has a valency of 2. Now, carbon 4, that is a statement which is quoted. It is already fixed. Carbon 4. Kumaanisha nini? Carbon has a valency of 4. You are already fixed. Don't work outside that. So, this is 4. When they exchange the valencies, it's going to be C. They exchange the valencies this way. It's going to be C2O4. Now, with the knowledge of mathematics that you have, 2 and 4 are divisible. So this you cancel this by 1, you get this 2. So we have CO2. This is the symbol for carbon 4 oxide. Are you doing well? Now, for carbon 2 oxide, we still have carbon and oxygen. Carbon 2. So umefixiwa hapa ni 2. Normally, oxygen has a valency of 2. When they exchange, we have C2O2. If they are the same numbers, why remain? Let it be CO. This is carbon 2 oxide, that is carbon 4 oxide. Are we together up to that point, Nasra? So you need to understand that. So tumefanya ngapi? 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's proceed. Look at this. Nataka tuendelee kidogo. Tukifika number 10, kuna compounds zingine which they are being written without following this. Which compound is this? Wacha niandika hapo ndio mniambie gas we are proceeding. What is the name of this? And what is the name of this? We have the first one here, the second one here. Niandikia hapo kwa comment section. Here kwanza, what's the name of this compound? And what's the name of this compound? Na2O2, H2O2. Well, yes, just tell me what is the name of those compounds. To it has their own, there is a reason as to why we don't cancel those two. Yeah. Yes. So let's continue with our writing of chemical formulas. But you've seen the most important thing is what we call combining power, which is the combining power of the element, which is the valency. Right together. Another one, we can write magnesium and fluorine. Magnesium and fluorine. Iko na valency ya 2, iko na valency ya 1. So it's going to be magnesium fluoride. Ni kama tu magnesium chloride. Magnesium chloride. You see, E2 imetoka kwa magnesium. Lakini for sodium and chlorine, to form a compound, iko na valency ya 1, iko na valency ya 1. So it's giving you sodium chloride. Sawa. Tuendelea vizuri. Keep on giving me the answers to this. I will read. Niambie 1 ni gani, 2 ni gani. Ndio sasa I will tell you. So otherwise we are proceeding with the writing of chemical formulas. Thank you Beverly for saying that you are in class. Sawa kabisa. But just a reminder before this kesho from what time now? Is it 11 or 10? We will be having mole, part 2 of the mole. Kumbuka part 1 tulitwanga. So we are going to discuss part 2 of the mole tomorrow from 10. Yeah, I think 10 makes sense. From 10 up to 11 or up to 12. So that, yeah, so you invited us. Now, let's proceed. Kuna ingine hapa natafuta niwape. What did you... Kibebe wanasema we already did. Moles hatukumaliza. We just did the introduction part. Hatukumaliza sana. Sawa Kibebe. Aya, look here. Aluminium oxide. Aluminium oxide. So ukishajua the combining power of aluminium na oxygen. Hii iko na 2, hii iko na 3. Mbona hii iko na 3? Because the electronic configuration is 283. Hii iko na 2 because it is 2:6. So it is gaining 2, ndio hii. It is losing 3, ndio hii. So it's going to have Al2O3. Right together. Before I answer this, I'm giving another assignment. Write for me the chemical formula for iron 2 oxide and iron 3 oxide and lastly try iron tetraoxide. 3 iron tetraoxide. Write for me the chemical formula to this. Na usijibu moja kama utaki kujibu na waja. Unaandika 1 formula yake, 2, okay, yeah, 2 formula yake, 3 formula yake. Kuna mtu anaandika 1 na naacha nayo. Just be consistent. Sema 1 ndio hii, 2 ndio hii. Kama hutaki kupanga kazi hivyo, wewe tulia, wewe watch tu, ngojea wengine wafanye hivyo. So I want to read the answers to this. In the meantime ukiandika hiyo ya kwanza, it is known as sodium peroxide. The higher oxide of sodium peroxide. Kuna watu wamepata hapo, ni sawa. Kina kipepeo washajibu, nimekuelewa mbona ulikuwa unasema we already did. Okay, sawa. Hii ya pili, H2O2 is known as hydrogen peroxide. The higher oxide of hydrogen. If you decompose hydrogen peroxide, you get oxygen gas and water. I think that's in order. Now, I'm waiting for you to give me the 4 formulas to this. Ndio niendelee na sasangu pale. In fact, I'm almost done teaching you how to give chemical 4 formulas. Leo hatutakaa sana it's better we spend time on writing of the chemical equation because that is where a lot of time is needed. Symbols here and there. Yeah. Cartoon Physics, thank you for following my programs. Share with your students, mwalimu. McLean Serovian anasema kama hatujui zote, uweze kwanza kujua zote. Okay, kama hujui zote ni sawa. I'm talking about a person mwenye anajua zote lakini anaandika ya kwanza atulie, andika ya pili atulie, andika ya tatu anatulia. So let me give the names to this or the formulas to this. For those who are following my program last week, I gave out the formula to this iron tetroxide. So this one, iron 2 oxide inaandikwa hivi, iron 2 oxide. Sawa. Iron 3 oxide inaandikwa hivi. This is iron 3 oxide. I hope you can see it. 3 iron tetroxide inaandikwa Fe3O4. All these are oxides of iron. Tuko pamoja. Beverly ndio amefuata hizo sheria na ameipata vizuri. Thank you. Can we clap for Beverly? Chat section. Na mtafutia nini? Iko kweli? Mimi sioni. Okay, maybe my laptop haina, lakini si ati hakuna. Sawa. Can we proceed now? I hope you can see venye nimeandika hapa. Now, most of these iron oxygen, sodium oxygen, hydrogen, I mean sodium 2 elements. Sasa nataka tuingie the ones that has more than 1 element. By the way, which compound has have more than 1 element? Oh, Bernard Moya amejua jinsi ya kupiga makofi kwa ni sawa. Kumbe maybe ni mimi ndio sisijui. But anyway, ni sawa. Just think of the elements, compounds which have more than 2 elements, like sodium carbonate. So one thing that I need to say is that for you to write a compound of an element that has more than 2 elements, then you must use a radical. You must use a radical to write the same. And look here. Nataka tu niandike examples 4 ama 5 ikienda sana. Then from there you ukwe umeelewa. Because I will pick various that requires various concepts. Na each example has its own concept. Haya. Mlifurahia venye wali nini? Waliondoa Adani nini deal. Mlifurahia kweli? Sasa Adani hawezi jenga airport. Mimi sikufurahia. Aya, look at this. Unajua jana tulisema a radical behaves exactly like an element. It reacts as a unit. You see, the same way oxygen forms a compound with sodium. Na ikue sodium oxide. The same way, sodium can form a compound with a carbonate. Then it becomes sodium carbonate. You see, this two is the valency. Ndio maana imekuja hapa. Are we together? That's why hiyo 2 imekuja hapo inakuwa sodium carbonate. Then I said again this last week. Don't bring your negative. Ati sasa umeandika compound vizuri na bado umeleta hii negative pale. Hii 2 negative. No. You are ruining a very good chemical formula. Please let's not go to that direction. Ukishaandika compound, a compound. Now, so that's how it is. Look at this second example. Already kuna kitu umelearn from this. Now, my second example is this, calcium carbonate. So calcium iko na valence ya 2, carbonate iko na valence ya 2 still. So we are going to have calcium carbonate. You see, hiyo 2 ya hii na 2 ya hii image cancel. It was supposed to be here and here. So this is formula for calcium carbonate. I want to show you the third one. I want to show you the third. Now, the third one now, I want to get to the third one. You see, in this case, there is no bracket anywhere. But I want to write the one. At what point are we supposed to introduce a bracket formulas? Aya. Nataka tufanye ya sodium hydroxide pia aina bracket, lakini nataka uone. Let me use sodium hydroxide and calcium hydroxide. Okay, sodium hydroxide inakaa hivi, kuna valence ka 1, hydroxide kana kuanga hivyo. Hiyo charge niko nayo ndio valence yake. So ni 1 1. So the formula is going to be sodium hydroxide. Now, calcium hydroxide hii iko na 2, then hydroxide kama kawaida tumesema iko na 1. Yesterday niliwapea all examples of radicals. Wala mko lesson yangu, you can still go back. Check yesterday's lesson. It's still there. It was attended by a good number. It was over 20. Yeah, so just go. I have over 200 lessons. Usipoeke nyumbani tukiwa na lessons mingi hivi. Ambassador speaks, then you will get all of them. Now look at this. They exchange the valencies this way. Ni kama dawari. Kwa kina ng'ombe, alafu ng'ombe inaenda kwa kina msichana. Hii valence ya calcium inaenda huku, hii inaenda huku. So how I will write this Ca then OH. Alafu niweke 2. You see these 2? I have to put it there, and the bracket must be accompanied. So I'm taking some water. Tell me why we have to put a bracket. Maclean zero, futa hiyo kitu before watu waone. Sawa. Maclean nimekuambia harakisha. Mbona nimeweka hapa bracket? Muniambie tu why did I have to put brackets there? In the meantime, as you are telling me that, I want I want all of you write for me the chemical formula of aluminium carbonate. Aluminium carbonate. Aluminium carbonate. Aluminium carbonate. Wakati nangojea mniambie hapa tu na hapa sitaweka. Mbona nimeweka hapa bracket hapa na sitaweka pale? Be writing for me the formula for aluminium carbonate. Ndio sasa tukishamazana. By the way, we still have only 2 or 3 examples, then tuingie chemical equations. Chemical equations, we are only going to write 10 of them. Then from there, I will lead you the way you write, you learn, but I'm just giving you the most basic ones, and the which way. I will tell you how to do it. You will actually have no problem with chemical equations. Before the end of this lesson, hii nayo inafaa kuwa umeshika. Kipepeo ni vizuri umefuta. I was spying time, sikutaka kucomment, lakini ni vizuri umeondoa hiyo kitu ulikuwa umeandika. Now, because no one knows why we are putting brackets here and we are not putting brackets here, is because you can imagine tukiandika hivi. When we were defining radical, tulisema it reacts as a unit. So these two should never be separated. Ukiandika hapo 2 bila bracket, then it means you have only assigned these 2 to hydrogen, which is very wrong. But you are supposed to put bracket to show that these 2 is affecting both the oxygen and the hydrogen. Right together? Yes. So we are writing the formula for aluminum carbonate. Aluminium carbonate. So we have aluminium. Then we have carbonate. Hii kama kawaida ukishaona hapa hiyo ni valence yake, which is 2. Aluminium inakwanga 2A3. They are not the same numbers. They have to aluminium with 2. Then carbonate hivi 3, lazima weke nini? Bracket. Why? These 3 affects all of them, or it belongs to both carbon and the 3 atoms of oxygen. Kipepeo, safe space, thank you. That's very correct. Aluminium phosphate. Now I want the formula for aluminium phosphate. Formula for aluminium phosphate. Then twende ya mwisho. After aluminium phosphate, tutaenda ya mwisho, a compound formed by radicals only. Yani, it's a radical and an element. Radical and an element. But, ndaka tuandike compound yenye, that compound is made up of 2 radicals. But, aluminium phosphate is what I'm waiting for you to write for me. Aluminium phosphate. Aluminium phosphate. Kuna mtu nampenda hapa sana, anajita Kipepeo safe space. That is very well, because you are just responding immediately. I don't know where my good friend Nasra ameenda. Are you still in class, Nasra? Let me confirm if Kitao from 3R is there. 3R ya Loreto. Kitao. Papi Pilo, thank you, that's very correct. Who else? Sawa. Yesterday we said, aluminium is in the Al. Phosphate inakwanga PO4, 3 negative. Iko na valence ya 3, iko na valence ya 3. So when they exchange the valences, it cancels each other. So we have AlPO4. Nice. Beverly, thank you again for giving that correct answer. That's great. That is great. Now, I'm requesting for a compound that is made up of 2 radicals. And these 2 radicals, one should be positive, the other one should be negative. I think umeona venye mimi nimeandika. There are no 2 compounds. Okay, there is no compound that is formed by both cations or both anions. Unless under a special case, which is very rare. Yani, ndaka ufikirie, which one is this compound that is made up of 2 radicals? Hiyo ni gani? Can you think of it? Sawa, ni kama hakuna mtu amefikiria. Let me write it. Sasa nikiamua kuangojea, itanishinda kama ni Yesu tunamngoja arudi ama ni nyinyi ndawangojea mnipe formula. Do you know ammonium ion? Ammonium ion tulisema kinaandikwaje? NH4+. Do you know hydroxide ion? Inaandikwa OH negative. The two of them are radicals. Hii iko na 1, hii iko na 1 still. So the valencies will just cancel each other because it is 1, 1. So we are going to have ammonium hydroxide. Can you see it? Ammonium hydroxide. Now, nimekupea example of a compound formed by two radicals. Radical and a radical. Now, give me another compound again formed by two radicals passing. Kama hii nimekupea na umejua venye inafaa kuwa. Now, give me another compound made up of two radicals. Beverly, it's good, but give us in terms of the formula, not the name. Kumbuka we are remaining with less than 20 minutes na inafaa tukimbize tuandike chemical equations, but chemical equations hiyo tutaipeleka tu vizuri, msikuwe na shida nayo. Sawa sawa. Ndaandika tu moja alafu tuachie hapo. Then we look at the chemical equations. Ndaandika tu kamoja tu. You know, I'm buying time nione kama kuna mwenye. Yes. I think I've gotten. And that is what I will use from Kipepeo. Amesema ammonium carbonate. Very well. Si carbonate ndio hii. So E2 itakuja huku because iko na valence ya 2. It's going to be ammonium. Lazima uweke bracket 2 then CO3. Great. That's the best. Yes. So, hey, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to chemical equations. Tumekaa sana. Chemical equations. Now, be very keen. For the next 20 minutes, chemical equations. One plus 3 should give us 4. Yes. A plus B should give us AB. Now, there are 3 parts of a chemical equation. The first part is the part called reactants. The second part is the part called products. The third part is the part connecting the products and the reactants. It always appears in form of an arrow. This one, which is to give. That arrow means to give. But the most important is the reactants. Now, the ones that appears before the arrow are called reactants. The ones that appears after the arrow are called the products. That is how a chemical equation looks like. Let me write one. Sodium hydroxide, which is aqueous, plus hydrochloric acid, which is still aqueous, will give us sodium chloride, which is still aqueous, plus water. Plus water, which is in a liquid state. Now, I've used the most basic equation we can have. This basic equation that I've used it, this is just a base and this is an acid. When they react, the process of reaction of a base and the acid, we call it neutralization. And therefore, it gives neutral products. It gives neutral products. Sodium chloride is a salt, which is neutral. Water is a neutral substance. Now, sodium hydroxide and HCl are called reactants. To give, now the others, which is sodium chloride and water, they are called products. There are 3 things that you need to fulfill for us to mark for you. And I want to challenge you, and please get challenged. If I try to challenge you, please get challenged. Nataka, pick your file, if at all you have it. If at all you have your file, I'm saying pick your file ya chemistry kama uko nayo. Unajua kuna wengine hawana. Wachana na form 1, naongea kuhusu file ya form 2 and beyond, form 3, form 4 uko. Try to count how many equations and formulas are you supposed to write before the end of the exams, and you will realize that there are very many. If you master this art, you are 30% ahead. Yani umejua tu kuandika chemical equations. Hata kama ndio peke yake ndio utajibu kwa mtihani, you are 30% ahead. Atuchaongelea sasa ile unaambiwa state 2 uses of oxygen, hizo vitu za watoto wa nursery. So I hope you are getting this. Now, there are 3 things. 1, correct products. Sawa? Usituambie sodium hydroxide plus HCl will give us sodium chloride plus hydrogen gas. Z. You utaanguka. You must give us the correct products. Number 2, use correct chemical formulas. Hata kama umeandika vizuri lakini hapa umechanganyika ukatuandikia sodium chloride hivi, tutakuangusha. Use the correct chemical formulas for both the products and the reactants. Number 3, give correct state symbols. Not state symbols, yes. Some of you mnaandika tu. So it should always be within your head. Isikuwe ni kitu ya kusahau. Mimi nikiandikanga tu hivi najuanga sodium hydroxide ni aqueous, hii ingine ni aqueous, hii ingine ni aqueous, hii ingine ni liquid. It is something that should be fixed in your head. Isikuwe kitu ati unakaa ni kama una case Z. Do the right thing. There are several state symbols. 1, solid. 2, liquid. 3, gas. And 4, aqueous. You must know that. We always use aqueous in salts which are soluble. Like if the salt is insoluble, then use solid because the salt does not dissolve. Yes. Ya mwisho sasa ndio tukumbakie. It will be well balanced. It will be well balanced. Usituandikie vitu zingine, it should be well balanced. Like in our case, lazima nijiulize. Sodium kwa product side ni 1. Nikienda huko ni 1. Oxygen ni 1. oxygen huko pia ni 1. Hydrogen ni 1. 1 plus 1 hiyo ni 2. Kufika huko ni 2. Chlorine ni moja, chlorine ni moja. I will say that question is self-balanced. That question is self-balanced. So follow this. Anytime you are writing chemical equations, make sure you know how to yani ukiambiwa this and this reacts inakupanga nini. I will spend 2 minutes after this to explain something. Use correct chemical formulas. Usituandikie anywhere a wrong chemical formula, you will be ruining yourself and you may miss the correct score. Give correct state symbols. Usiweka hapa solid na inafaa ikuwe liquid. Be aware. And only these ones you will only do it when you learn how to do it. Hapa balance. Na ukiona equation inakataa kubalance, anytime you try to balance a chemical equation that you've tried, imekataa, there are two things involved. Either you have given the wrong products or some of the formulas are not correct. Lakini kama umeandika vizuri, balancing becomes easier. So balancing becomes difficult if the equation is wrong. Are we still together? Are you following me? Kama tuko pamoja niambie, just to confirm that we are still together. Nataka tufanye examples zingine 3-4. Alafu tuendelee. But before that, let me say this. In form 1, pale kwa topic ya acids, bases and indicators. That is where you got to learn about more than 5 products. Beverly, thank you, and McLean Zerovi, thank you for confirming that we are. Na niko na zawadi yake tukifungua shule. I'm saying this. Kwa form, natakanga ukiambiwa this and this react, akili yako ishike iseme inakupea hii na hii. Margaret Njeri, which school are you? Which class are you? Are we in the same school with you, Margaret? Am I one of your teachers? Sawa. Inafaa tujue ukipewa metal and water inakupea nini? Metal hydroxide plus nini? Hydrogen gas. Ukipewa metal and acid inakupeanga salt and hydrogen gas. No teacher would ever spend his or her time hizi vitu mingi, anakupeanga basics. The rest tukutane kwa mtihani. For sure. Yani anakupeanga tu the basics. Examples zingine ziko kwa KLB, ziko kwa masterpiece, ziko kwa top notch, ziko kwa mahali mingi many other revision books. It's upon you now to get out of your comfort zone na kujiambia nataka niandike chemical equations. By the way, I am challenging you. After this, go and write 100 chemical equations. Ukipata moja imekushinda, please bring it to my attention. Nione hii ni chemical equation gani imeshinda mwanafunzi wangu mwenye nimemfunza hivi yote. So in form 1 you are getting very more. Listen here. Isn't it in form 1 that you are told what are the products formed when metal and water react? Ukaambiwa inakupea nini? Inakupea metal hydroxide plus hydrogen gas. For example, sodium and water itakupatia sodium hydroxide plus hydrogen gas. Sini form 1 tu ndio uliambiwa a metal and a acid will give you a salt and a hydrogen gas. For example, calcium and hydrochloric acid will give you calcium chloride plus hydrogen gas. It is also in form 1 that you are told metal and chlorine or any non-metal can give you a product of the same, like calcium plus chlorine gas, it gives you calcium chloride. It is in form 1 that you are told that an acid and a base like this react to give a salt and water, and the process is called neutralization. It is in form 1 still that you are told an acid and a carbonate would give you 3 products: a salt, water, and hydrogen gas. Someone asking, can I ask a question out of the topic? Okay, you can ask, but kumbuka hata mimi nimekuuliza swali, which school are you or which class are you? As you asking the question, answer my question. Now, acid and carbonate gives you three products: salt, water, and carbon dioxide. For example, calcium carbonate with nitric 5 acid will give you calcium nitrate, water, and carbon dioxide in Form 1, if it's in Form 1. Now, I'm saying this because I know you will know how to write the proper chemical symbols. You know how to balance the equation, all the which are involved. Now, except on a special case, and please be aware of the special case things in chemistry. They are the ones that examiners love the most. For example, can I give you some of the special case formulas and equations? We have said that a metal and acid reacts to give a salt and hydrogen gas. But copper and nitric 5 acid cannot follow that process. I'm asking you a question. Nataka uende ufanye research. Copper and nitric 5 acid concentrated, or copper and concentrated sulfuric 6 acid inakopea nini? It does not follow the normal formula we know that a metal and the acid, it gives salt and hydrogen gas. I'm challenging you. Also, go out of your way. Kesho, before we start the topic of the modes at 10 a.m., nataka tuanzie hapo. Now, another thing, was it not in Form 1 that you are told a steam and metal will give you a metal oxide and hydrogen gas, like magnesium and steam will give you magnesium oxide together with hydrogen gas? It is in Form 1, except a special case scenario whereby iron and steam will not give you iron 2 oxide or iron 3 oxide. It gives you tri-iron tetra oxide. It's also another special case thing. It is in Form 1 also that you are told a metal and water will give you metal hydroxide plus hydrogen gas. These things you are taught in Form 1. Almost all of them you are taught in Form 1. Singine ni wewe mwenyewe kujitafutia ujue. And by the way, let that one not be a problem to you. The more you write very many chemical formulas, chemical equations, ease of its sort, you will always know the products. Now, balance equation. By the way, make it a fun. Since to go high school, those days, we had our group. Nilikuwa naambia mjama fulani, enda unikopie, because by the way, we only survived on KLB. Enda ucopy 10 equations from anywhere in the KLB. That's the time nilikuwa Form 2 nikitransit Form 3. All the way, that was how I practiced. Amenipea KLB. Okay, amenipea karatasi. Mimi nilikwenda kuandika 10 equations from the KLB. Namuletea ana balance. Mimi niko na marking scheme. At the same time, yeye pia anafanya the same. Nikimaliza nambea, ananimakia, nammakia. That was how I became a pro in writing of chemical equations and formulas. You too can be doing the same. Mpaka inafika mahali, I don't write the equation then balance. Naandika kama na balancing nikienda. Why? Because I got used to. If I were you, ningefanya venye mimi nilifanya na isi maneno utazijua. We have very many equations that you can write and you can work on. Taka tuandike kama 2, then nikuache nikuache ukipika zoezi. Kuna mtu ameandika swali amesema, question, state and explain the change in mass that occurs when copper 2 nitrate is heated in an open crucible. When copper 2 nitrate is heated in an open crucible, this is a question out of the topic. When copper 2 nitrate is heated in a crucible, the mass changes by decreasing, or there is a decrease in mass. Why? When copper 2 nitrate is heated, it decomposes to copper 2 oxide nitrogen oxide and oxygen gas. So the oxygen gas and nitrogen oxide escapes to the atmosphere. And so we remain with copper 2 oxide, which is a small amount of mass. Beverly, umenipata? Good. Nataka tufanye examples mbili tatu ndio nikuajilie wewe pia ufanye shughuli zako. Copper plus oxygen. Nataka tuandike tu examples tu kidogo, then I release you. Go. I am always telling you to invite people to our channel. Yes. The only day I don't have a live lesson is on a Sunday. And it is because I go to church. Wale mnaenda SDA, kesho, immediately ukitoka church, come and check. Ambassador leo amepost nini. Utapata, mimi sipostingi ujinga na postingi vitu zinaongezea mtu knowledge. Haya, copper, which is a solid, plus oxygen. Now, angalia hapa vizuri. Oxygen imeandika O2. Sitaandika O. Why? Because oxygen exists as a molecule. Then it will give us copper 2 oxide. Now copper 2 oxide, write the proper symbol. Ni solid. So tumeandika vizuri, we have the correct state symbol, correct chemical formulas, but kuna kitu moja imepaki. Sawa sawa. Hiyo kitu moja imepaki ni co-balanced. So unashika hapa hivi. Copper ni ngapi hapa? Ni mbili. Ni moja. Huko ni moja. Hiyo unaachana nayo. Oxygen hapa ni ngapi? Ni mbili. Huko ni moja. So how to balance a compound? Unawekanga number C, oxygen mbili. Hiyo number leta hapa. Now, by bringing 2 here, it affects copper. So huku kwa product copper ni mbili. Now you are forced to bring 2 here. Now ukishaleta hivyo, that equation is balanced. So about balancing, it's a matter of practice. Are you together? Boys and girls. Haya, nataka tuende example nyingine. Na wewe kazi yako pia ni kufuatilia. Na ukikuwa na swali, unaleta haraka haraka. Tujibu tukisonga mbele. Nataka tuandike zinc plus hydrochloric acid. Zinc is a solid. Sawa, girls and boys. Plus hydrochloric acid, which is aqueous. Aqueous inamaanisha inapatikana katikati ya solid na ama ni dilute. Aqueous inamaanisha iko na maji. Now, that's how it is. So, in is solid, in metal and acid. So you must always be knowing that when a metal meets acid, it will give you a salt, which is zinc chloride. Angalia venye zinc chloride inaandikwa, which is aqueous. Why aqueous? Because zinc chloride is soluble. Plus, what was displaced here? Hydrogen plus hydrogen gas. Ukishafika hapo, you are almost there. You're only remaining with one thing, balancing. You're only remaining with balancing. Zinc ni moja, zinc pale ni moja. Achana nayo kwanza. Hydrogen hapa ni moja, hydrogen huko ni mbili. So you have to put 2 here. Putting 2 here makes chlorine 2. Na ukiangalia hapa chlorine ni ngapi? Mbili. That's how the equation gets balanced. Nataka mnifanyie hizi mbili, then we end the lesson. Calcium carbonate plus hydrochloric acid. Plus sulfuric acid. Calcium carbonate. Waje niwawekea hapo kwa chat section. Wote maswali mbili tu. Ya kwanza ndio hiyo calcium carbonate plus dilute sulfuric acid. Write for me a proper chemical equation. Ya kwanza, ya pili ndio hii. Watu wako wanaandika maswali. Ya pili ni zinc oxide plus dilute sulfuric acid. So mimi tunangojea, sitaendelea because tunataka to mark hizo mbili, then you follow you follow the suit. Haya, watu wako wanaandika faster. Inategemea ni nani anajua kubalance. Kwanza andika kwa karatasi kwanza. Ukisha balance, then you bring it now on the chart there. Yes, in the meantime, allow me to be cleaning the board. Also, some people are keeping on buying the exams. Leo nimetumana kama 3 hivi ama 4. So what am I saying? Have your exam also. Make sure you have your own exam. Make sure you do what? Kuna mtu anauliza kwa group at what's happening. Happening what? Si tuko wewe kwenda. Njeri Margaret, hii joke nayo imekupita. Waje nieleze ati Njeri is asking, what is happening on Tuesday? Goes, I saw someone asking sir if he's ready for Tuesday. Hiyo ndakueleza hiyo joke kidogo hiyo nayo. It was one of the politicians who was captured in a camera saying I'm ready for Tuesday. And up to today, that joke is still being used. I'm talking while I'm waiting for you to kunwekea chemical form, I mean the chemical equation over there. Nawangoje tu. Nawangoje tu. Yeah, so those who want the exam, please mniambie, I will send it to where you are. Ufanye alafu any teacher can mark for you or I can mark for you. Watu wa Limuru ndaka tujuane, watu wa Limuru ndio mkuje kwa ofisi tutoape mtihani. Well, kipepeo, I have your answer. Nitaandika tu sasa tuone. I'm waiting for one more person, alafu tuendelee. Kesho, join us for malls. Don't fear to join us. Yes. Sawa, ndaka tuanze na ya kwanza. Let's start with the first one. Ya kwanza ilikuwa calcium carbonate plus dilute sulfuric acid. Calcium carbonate inaandikwa hivyo. Solid plus dilute sulfuric acid H2SO4. This is aqueous. Ilisema dilute, yes. Dilute means aqueous. To give us, I told you, a carbonate and the acid will give you 3 products. Ya kwanza, a salt, which is calcium sulfate. Hii ndaandika solid. Plus CO2. Haijatoshea pale waje tunaandike plus water, which is a liquid. CO2 nani ajui ni gas? Your role is to balance the equation now. Hiyo kitu iko tu sawa. Sasa tutaandika nini wapi? Calcium ni moja hapa, calcium huko ni moja, carbon ni 1, carbon huko ni 1, oxygen ni 3 plus 4, hiyo ni 7. 4 plus 2 6 plus 1 7, hiyo oxygen iko sawa. Hydrogen ni 2. Hydrogen pia ni 2 huko. Sulfur ni moja, sulfur ni moja. That equation is self-explanatory. Papi Pilo, I've seen your answer. Kipepeo, I've seen your second answer. Zinc oxide plus dilute sulfuric acid. Zinc oxide, which is solid, plus dilute what? Kwani kinasawa cha haraka? Dilute sulfuric acid. I know kuna mtu anashangaa mbona hapo umeandika solid. Waje niandike hii. Hii ndaandika zinc sulfate. Lakini ndaandika aqueous. I love these 2 examples because there is something you are learning. Calcium sulfate is insoluble. Those who have learned about solubility of salts, you know what I'm talking about. Zinc sulfate is soluble, so it is aqueous. Plus, this is a base, by the way, kama ujui. This is acting as a base. Na hii ni acid. So a base and the acid will give us a salt plus water. Ladies and gentlemen, let's balance the equation. Zinc ni moja huku. Oxygen ni 1 plus 4, hiyo ni 5. Na pia huko ni 5. Hydrogen, these two are just balanced. I want to end there today. And I'm so grateful that you are, or you've learned something. If you've learned something, just say yes, yes. All of you wenye mko 10, if kuna kitu umeshika leo, just say yes, ndio nikuwe na furaha, nijua at least kuna mtu nimemfunza. Before we end the lesson, just let me see those who have enjoyed the lesson. Those comments there, ndio at least, we survive by motivation. That one will motivate us to come here tomorrow again. Now, moles. Tomorrow we will spend 1 hour. We discuss. Please have your calculator. Even me, I'm planning to come with my calculator because I need a calculator in this office. Nitakuwa natumia ku calculate hapa na pale. So, yeah. Get ready. So if I say, are you ready for Tuesday? I mean, wachana na Tuesday. I'm just asking if you are ready. You're saying what's happening on Tuesday. Nothing is happening on Tuesday. You will only learn biology on Tuesday next week, and Wednesday and physics lesson next week. We will have a physics lesson next week. We are going to arrange in a way that physics lesson comes in the morning, chemistry comes in the evening. We are still planning on that. But if it will not manage that way, then it means we will be alternating Monday, chemistry, Tuesday, IFO. Yeah, but we are trying to plan. Now, kipepeo self space, kuna swali alikuwa aliuliza what is the formula for pentacaponyl. I wanted to avoid that question because it's not actually on your side. Na hata hakuna mtu mwenye atawauliza, lakini you will just allow me to answer you. FeCO into bracket 5. Fe ion, andika ion, Fe ndawandike kwa ubao. CO into bracket 5. Wacha niandika hapa. It is a special compound that we used to write those days. Fe CO, weka bracket, weka hapa 5. That is what is called that's what we call ion pentacaponyl. I don't know kama hiyo ndio ulikuwa unauliza. Nani kipepeo. Welcome, those who have written, thank you for the lesson. Welcome, and see you tomorrow for a chemistry lesson on the mole. So you allow our producer to sign